I stood in the pouring rain at 1 a.m., staring at my belongings scattered across our front lawn like garbage after a tornado. My textbooks, soaked. My laptop case, splattered with mud. My clothes, strewn over bushes like sad, soggy decorations. And taped to what remained of my suitcase? A note in Megan's handwriting. Hope you and Tyler enjoy your new life together, you backstabbing boyfriend thief. Don't come back. I just stood there, rain plastering my hair to my face, trying to process what had happened while our neighbors peeked through curtains at the unfolding drama. The irony? I hadn't stolen Tyler. He was cheating all right, just not with me. As I gathered my waterlogged possessions, my phone lit up with a text from Tyler. Hey, did you tell Megan about us? She's freaking out. The confusion hit me like a slap. There was no us. I'd never touched Tyler, never wanted to. Yet here I was, homeless during finals week because of something I hadn't done. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just methodically salvaged what I could, called an Uber, and left. What Megan didn't realize as she watched from the window, oh yes, I saw her curtain move, was that she had just made the biggest mistake of her life. She'd bitten the hand that fed her. And that hand held all the receipts. Updated. Thanks for all the supportive comments, guys. I'm blown away by how many of you have been through similar situations with toxic roommates. To answer the most common question, yes, I was on the lease. Actually, I was the name on the lease. More details coming. Have you ever been blamed for something you absolutely didn't do? Megan and I had been friends for 3 years before becoming roommates. We met in freshman English, bonded over our mutual hatred for our pretentious TA, and became inseparable. When she lost her part-time job sophomore year, I covered her portion of spring break. When her dad got sick, I drove her 8 hours to her hometown and waited 3 days until she was ready to return. When her last roommate bailed without notice, I offered to move in without hesitation. That's what friends do, right? But looking back, there were red flags I chose to ignore. Like how her previous friendships always ended with dramatic stories about betrayal, or how her exes were all psychos who'd wronged her, or how whenever something went wrong in her life, it was always someone else's fault. I should have seen it coming when Tyler entered the picture 6 months ago. He was charming in that obvious way. Too handsome, too smooth, too concerned with appearances. He drove a car he couldn't afford and wore clothes that still had tags hidden in the collars. Megan was infatuated immediately. Suddenly, our roommate movie nights became Tyler and Megan date nights in our living room, with me awkwardly navigating around them to the kitchen. When they fought, which was often, I was her shoulder to cry on. When they made up, I was forgotten. Again. Still, I tolerated it because my focus was elsewhere. I had a full academic scholarship that required maintaining a 3.8 GPA, and finals were approaching. Finals that would determine if I qualified for the prestigious Morgan Fellowship that would essentially guarantee my future career. While Megan waited tables part-time and complained about her courses, I was pulling all-nighters at the library. While she spent $300 on concert tickets, I was stretching ramen packets to cover rent. Our rent, since Megan was chronically just a little short this month. What Megan conveniently forgot during her lawn decorating tantrum was that my name was on everything. The lease, I was the primary. The utilities, under my account. The rental insurance, my policy. I'd even co-signed for her car because her credit was still recovering from some mysterious past issue. I wasn't just her roommate, I was her financial safety net. And she'd just cut that net with scissors made of wild accusations. After finding temporary shelter with my classmate Jen, I tried to focus on finals despite my world imploding. Physics on Tuesday, advanced statistics on Wednesday, research methods on Friday, each one crucial for my scholarship. I was running on energy drinks and pure determination, studying in Jen's crowded living room while trying to find replacement clothes at Goodwill since most of mine were ruined by the rain. Then came the twist. Thursday night, exhausted after my statistics final, I was mindlessly scrolling through Instagram when I saw it, a story from Amber, Megan's cousin. It showed her at some club, looking guilty but defiant, with the caption, "The truth always comes out eventually. Sorry, not sorry." An hour later, my phone exploded with notifications. Apparently, Tyler hadn't been cheating with me. He'd been cheating with Amber for months. And judging by the comment section of Amber's post, this information had just gone nuclear in their family circle. My phone rang. Megan. I declined. Again. Then texts started flooding in. I made a huge mistake. Please call me back. I'm so sorry. Tyler was cheating with Amber? I turned off my phone. I had my research methods final in the morning, and Megan's drama tornado had already cost me enough. But as I tried to concentrate on academic journals, Jen's buzzer rang. It was Amber, of all people. I had to tell you in person, she said, mascara streaked down her face. Tyler and it happened at New Year's. It was supposed to be a one-time thing, but then It kept happening. Megan found texts on his phone last week, but he convinced her they were about you, not me. He deleted my name from his contacts and just saved it as study partner. I was too scared to come forward, but I couldn't keep living the lie. Updated. Finals are finally over, and I passed everything despite the chaos. Thanks for all your advice about handling the legal aspects. Amber sent me screenshots of Tyler admitting he made up the whole story about me to cover his tracks. Megan still hasn't paid her share of this month's rent, and the utilities are now past due. Guess who just received an eviction warning notice? That night, studying in the campus library until closing time, something shifted inside me. As I memorized formulas and reviewed case studies, I realized this situation was just another equation to solve. Megan had been using me, financially, emotionally, practically for years. I'd been a doormat with a wallet and a shoulder to cry on. And unless I changed the pattern, she'd apologize dramatically, I'd forgive her, and we'd repeat this cycle again the next time she needed a scapegoat for her chaotic life choices. Enough, I whispered to myself, surprising the student napping at the table across from me. This wasn't just about standing up for myself in this instance. It was about changing the fundamental dynamic of how people treated me. I'd been so focused on my academic achievements that I'd neglected the basic skill of commanding respect in my personal relationships. I closed my textbook and opened my banking app. For the next hour, I compiled a spreadsheet detailing every expense I'd covered for Megan over the past year. Her portion of rent when she was short, $118.75, utilities she promised to pay back, $643, groceries she'd consumed without contributing, $520, her car insurance payments I'd fronted, $395, and the loan I'd given her for deposit on our apartment, $800. The total made me feel physically ill, $433, almost a semester's worth of expenses. I didn't confront her. I didn't send angry texts. I simply finished my finals, documented everything, and waited. Because the thing about people who use others, they always come back when they need something. And Megan was about to need a lot. It took exactly 9 days. I was sitting in a coffee shop celebrating the end of finals with an overpriced latte when Megan appeared in front of me. Her eyes were puffy, her normally perfect hair unwashed. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice small. I gestured to the empty chair across from me, face neutral. She sat down and immediately launched into a tearful monologue about how wrong she'd been, how Tyler had manipulated her, how Amber had betrayed her, how she'd made a terrible mistake with me. "I know I messed up," she said, wiping her eyes with a napkin. "I should have trusted you. You've always been there for me, and I freaked out. I miss you. I miss our friendship." I nodded, waiting for the other shoe to drop. It didn't take long. "Also," she continued, voice dropping, "I'm in a bit of trouble with the apartment. Since you left, I haven't been able to make rent on my own, and the landlord is threatening eviction, and the electricity got shut off yesterday. I tried calling my parents, but they're still mad about the tuition money I borrowed last year and never paid back. I was hoping maybe you could help, just until I figure things out." I took a slow sip of my latte, savoring the moment. "That sounds stressful," I said finally. Her face brightened at my apparent sympathy. "So you'll help?" "I knew you would. You're such a good friend, even after everything. I was thinking you could move back in and we could just forget this whole—" "I didn't say I'd help," I interrupted softly. "I said it sounds stressful." Her expression faltered. I reached into my bag and pulled out a manila folder containing my spreadsheet, copies of all our shared bills, and a payment plan I'd drawn up. "This is the total amount you owe me," I said, sliding it across the table. "I've broken it down by category for clarity." She opened the folder, her eyes widening as she scanned the numbers. $4,000? That's insane. I can't pay this. "Actually," I corrected, "it's $4,233, and these are all expenses you agreed to pay back. I have the text confirming each one." I pulled out my phone and showed her the conversation thread I'd saved where she'd promised to pay me back as soon as she got her next paycheck. Promises made months ago. "This is so unfair," she sputtered, color rising in her cheeks. "You know I don't have this kind of money. You're supposed to be my friend. Friends don't throw friends' belongings onto the lawn in the rain," I replied calmly. "Friends don't accuse friends of sleeping with their boyfriends without evidence. Friends don't take financial advantage of friends for years. But yes, I was your friend. A much better friend to you than you ever were to me." Her eyes welled up again, but this time, I recognized the performance for what it was. "I can't believe you're doing this to me," she said, voice breaking strategically. "After everything we've been through, I made one mistake." "Multiple mistakes," I corrected. "Over multiple years, and now there are consequences." She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. This wasn't how our dynamic worked. I was supposed to forgive her, to help her, to make her problems disappear. That's what I'd always done. If you want my help with the apartment situation, I continued, I'm willing to negotiate, but not without a formal agreement about repayment. I slid another document across the table, a simple contract I'd drafted outlining a payment plan of $300 per month until her debt was cleared. Sign this, stick to the payments, and I'll talk to the landlord about giving you more time to find a new roommate. I'll also call the utility company and get your electricity turned back on, since the account is in my name. But this is a one-time offer. Take it or leave it. Her face cycled through emotions: shock, anger, calculation, and finally, defeat. Why are you being like this? She asked, a last attempt at manipulation. This isn't you. I almost laughed. Actually, this is me. The real me. The me who values herself enough not to be used anymore. I stood up, gathering my things. You have until tomorrow to decide. After that, I'm contacting the landlord to have my name removed from the lease. And you'll be facing eviction alone. As I turned to leave, she grabbed my wrist. Wait, she said, her voice suddenly raw with something that sounded like genuine emotion. I do need help. I'm drowning here. Tyler left. Amber won't speak to me. My parents are done supporting me. Everyone's abandoned me. For a moment, I saw behind the manipulation to the scared person beneath, someone who'd never learned to stand on her own because she'd always found someone else to carry her. I haven't abandoned you, I said gently. I've just stopped enabling you. There's a difference. I put the pen down next to the contract. You have choices, Megan. You always have. You're choosing to see yourself as a victim instead of taking responsibility. Choose differently. She stared at the contract for a long moment, then slowly picked up the pen. I don't have anywhere else to go, she admitted quietly. Okay, she said finally. I'll sign it. But I want to be clear. I'm only doing this because I'm desperate. I nodded. That's fine. Your motivation is your business. Following through is all I care about. After she signed, I took out my phone and called the utility company on the spot, arranging to have the electricity turned back on. I also emailed our landlord, explaining that there had been a misunderstanding and requesting an extension on the late rent. As promised, I was helping her, but on my terms, not hers. When I got back to Jen's apartment that night, I felt strangely light, as if I'd put down a heavy backpack I'd been carrying for years. Setting boundaries wasn't just about this situation with Megan, it was about recognizing my own worth. I'd spent so much time focusing on academic achievements that I'd neglected to value myself in my personal relationships. That ended today. The next month was an adjustment for both of us. Megan found a new roommate, a quiet graduate student named Priya who established clear financial boundaries from day one. I found a small studio apartment closer to campus that I could actually afford now that I wasn't subsidizing someone else's lifestyle. On the first of the month, right on schedule, Megan sent her first payment of $300. I hadn't been sure she'd follow through, but something had changed in her too. We occasionally ran into each other on campus, exchanges that started awkwardly, but gradually evolved into polite conversation. I'm working 2 jobs now, she told me during one such encounter. It's exhausting, but I don't know, it feels good to be handling my own stuff. I nodded, genuinely happy for her. That's great, Megan. We weren't friends anymore, not really, but we weren't enemies either. We were just 2 people who had learned important lessons from each other. By graduation, 1 year later, I'd received the Morgan Fellowship and secured a position at a research institute I'd been dreaming about since freshman year. Megan had steadily made her monthly payments, with only 2 missed deadlines, which she'd made up immediately the following months. We'd exchanged occasional texts, mostly practical matters about the old apartment or logistical questions. After the ceremony, as families and friends milled around taking photos, she approached me holding a small gift bag. "Congratulations," she said, smiling tentatively. "I heard about the fellowship. That's amazing." I thanked her, surprised by the gesture. She handed me the bag, which contained a framed photo of us from freshman year, arms around each other, laughing. "I also wanted to give you this," she said, pulling an envelope from her pocket. Inside was a check for $1,233, the remainder of what she owed me. "I got a job offer in Seattle," she explained. "Full benefits, decent salary. I wanted to be completely free of debt before I left. Start fresh, you know?" I looked at the check, then at Megan, really looked at her. She stood straighter now, met my eyes directly. "I'm proud of you," I said, meaning it. "Not just for this, but for everything you've done this year. You really turned things around." She nodded, a flash of the old sadness crossing her face. I had to. That day in the coffee shop, it was humiliating, but it was also a wake-up call. Nobody was going to save me but me. We hugged briefly, a complicated embrace full of history and lessons and growth. As she walked away, I realized that standing up for myself hadn't just changed my life, it had changed hers too. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is refuse to participate in their dysfunction. Sometimes true friendship means saying no instead of always saying yes. 1 year after that rain-soaked night when my belongings decorated the lawn, I was signing a lease on my own apartment in a new city, starting a career I loved, and most importantly, carrying the knowledge that I would never again let anyone, friend, roommate, or partner, treat me as less than I deserved. And the most valuable thing I learned in college wasn't in any textbook or lecture hall. It was the simple, powerful understanding that when you respect yourself, others have no choice but to follow suit. Updated. It's been almost 3 years since graduation, and I still get occasional emails from Megan. She's doing really well at her job in Seattle and even started her own side business. Yesterday, she sent me a link to a blog post she wrote about financial independence and mentioned how our friendship breakup was the wake-up call she needed. Sometimes the hardest lessons turn out to be the most valuable. Have you ever had to cut off a friendship that was actually hurting both of you?